Data analysis. So every single play in our system has about 400 pieces of data associated with it. And that allows us just to quickly filter and get to what a coach wants. So everything from down distance, situational data, how long it took the quarterback to throw the ball, if it was quarterback pressure, who pressured, where they came from, who gave it up, how far the ball traveled in the air to where it was caught, not necessarily how much it gained as well, location and job role of all 22 players. So all these are separate data fields. So I just had a request 2 days ago from a coach looking at a NFL free agent, which I won't talk about because we haven't signed him, but a possibility. And he said, this D lineman, I want to know every time he lined up outside the tackle, I want to see those plays. And quite literally, based on the data we had, it was a matter of within 3 minutes, I had 350 plays for that coach to be able to watch. So a lot of what we do is ultimately data-driven. And ultimately, what I always like to say is the video is just as important as the data, and the marriage of the two is what gives us some real advantage, because just because you could see, just because you know he did 350, being able to watch 350 is the important part. So data and video is very important to mirror together. Average 140 plays or so per game, so we're talking about 55,000 data points per game. Again, 331 NFL and 1,650, about 2,000 games a season. You can add up. My SQL database grows quite exponentially, but it's all good. Game analysis. So in addition to the video they look at, we do a lot of reports, and some of it are kind of standard, some of it we specialize on a weekly basis, but some of the areas, so I call it technical and tactical. Technical is kind of what are all 11 doing together, and the tactical is what is one person doing. So we will get down to focus on how is this one person played in the game versus how are they lining up as an entire offense and what are they running. And we'll look at it both ways. So we'll do a detailed opponent report. We'll look at about the last 4 to 5 games based on who they played, et cetera. And we'll really get to a fine-tooth comb with that. We'll look at long-term, and it says seasons. So we'll sometimes, if a coordinator's been at a team 3-4 years, we'll actually do a scout over that duration to see if coordinators have certain tendencies and how they have changed. And we kind of try to predict coaches' moves as well as players. We always want to look at ourselves as well. It's one of those, well, I know what we do, and I think I know what they think we know we do, so can we do something different? That whole, I'm going to stop right there. But yes, we play that whole game of we have a tendency to do this. We think they're going to think we're going to do this, so we're going to try to do something based off of that and do something different. So we have too much time in the week, believe me. The goal is to be prepared, so a coordinator during a game has about 15 seconds between plays to make up their mind what they want to call for the next play, both offensive and defensive coaches. So if you could think, I have to make a decision that might be the difference in the game, and I have 15 seconds to make that decision. That is where we try to be prepared as much as we can during the week, so that 15 seconds, they're really deciding between, well, I got A, B, and C is really my good options, and I'm going to go with B type situation. And that's really where we try to get to. Kind of giving you a basics is some of the piles we put plays in and look at. So these 22 right here is the first cut we'll make plays. We'll put them in 22 different piles, and then we'll divvy up piles even further than that. But everything from, was it a 2-point play, 4-point play? Was it backed up? Was it in the red zone? These are 14 through 18 are in the red zone. And then out in the field, we say if there was no red zone, no backed up, no 2-minute, no 4-minute, then we'll put it in a generic down and distance category. But every play is in one of these 22 piles. Then we'll further look to see who's on the field, was there a score differential, et cetera. So we're always trying to I always try to say there's a fine line between you want to be able to see the real details, but you never want to lose the view of the forest. So we kind of tried to do both, and it's a fine balance of doing both, especially when you start talking sample sizes. So when you're talking 4 games, which is probably about 300 plays, and you start dividing it into 22 groups, you start getting really small sample sizes. So you always have to be careful of what you think is the case as well. One thing that we use, so we have some software built in here that we do a lot of our game analysis. One thing that I've enjoyed, and I was going to go a little bit more into, is we use this third-party application called QuickSense for data, and it's worked really well in terms of what we needed to do. What we'll do, so this is Julius Thomas for the entire year. So we'll actually look at specific players, our opponents coming up, and looking for trends. So for example, 76% pass when he's on the field. Jaguars as a team was 66% pass. So the second we know he's on the field, there's a higher tendency to pass. So our coaches are immediately thinking, well, there's a better chance, our opponent is probably thinking, there's a better chance they're going to pass. Only 17 pass blocks on the year out of 518 plays. So I'm not too worried about him, even when he lines up tight, of being a pass blocker. He's probably releasing. So I know that in my head. He was targeted 19% of the time. So if it was a pass play, any pass play he was on the field, 19% of the time the ball was thrown at him. The only two players on the team that was thrown at more was Rashad Green and Allen Robinson. 75 targets, which was actually number 3 on the team as well, but this time behind Hearns and Robinson. We look at where he lined up. So he lined up 259 snaps to the quarterback's left, 259 snaps to the quarterback's right. Don't ask me how that happened. So when you talk 50-50, that's as close to 50-50 as you could get right there. So we look at where he lined up. There was 16 different locations that he lined up in relationship to other players. And we look to see, the red line is then the run pass percentage of when he lined up in those different locations. The one thing I really like about this software is that with a click of a button then on that bar chart, I can click those 8 bar charts where he lined up outside of being a tight end, when he lined up in the flex position. And every other chart on the field, on the page changes with it. So it's a real quick way to do data selecting and data mining. So I said anytime he lined up as a wide receiver, 270 plays, they jumped to 92% pass. So again, as an opponent, I'm going to go, well, if Julius Thomas is lined up as a wide receiver, that's 92% pass. They only ran the ball 6 times in the last 6 games that happened. So immediately I could start thinking adjustments, et cetera. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to look at on a regular basis, just to kind of give you an idea. But this software, just for anybody that has to do any kind of data mining, data combining, I recommend it. It's really worked well for us. Cloud applications. So we do have a large number of, well, I guess time sensitive is an understatement. We play every Sunday. So one of the things I enjoy most about my job is, well, I would enjoy wins too, but how prepared were we Sunday is kind of an instant feedback to how I did that week. So I can't necessarily make tackles or catches, but how prepared were we? So it's kind of a neat job that I'm in terms of I work really hard for the week, and then I get instant feedback. How well did you do that week? And then you get to start it over.